Hello, this is Faith from Faith and Books. I just did a video and it was just way too dark. So I'm redoing this. And I thought I would just post about my plans for December reading. I'm doing this now because even though it's not even Thanksgiving, you know how Christmas, is fast upon the heels of Thanksgiving. So I thought I would just post now my plans for December. I'm still working through my nonfiction. It looks like I'm only going to have 3 nonfiction reads completed in November, unless somehow I suddenly speed up my reading. But that's okay. I'm having fun. I started the Generation of Sociopaths, and it's quite promising. The guy's a good writer, and and he's really socking it to the baby boomers. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's has a lot of promise. So I'm only 10% in right now. Anyway, for December though, because this Sunday is the last Sunday in the Roman Catholic liturgical calendar, and then it's the last Sunday of the year, the liturgical year, and then the next Sunday will be the first Sunday in Advent, and it'll be the beginning of a new liturgical year. So I'm excited that I just happened upon this for my haul when I went away earlier this month. And we went to that used bookstore, and this looks really good. It's the Adult Christ at Christmas, and it's broken down very nicely. There's an introduction, and then there's 4 separate sections that so it'll correspond with each week of Advent, because there are 4 weeks in Advent. So there's Matthew 2, 1 through 23, the meaning of the Magi, and let's see, the next one is presentation of Jesus in the temple, the finding of the boy Jesus in the temple, and what's the last one? I keep missing it. Somehow I keep missing it. Anyway, there really are 4 readings, or 1 for each week of Advent. So I'm looking forward to reading these passages and then reading about what this scholar has to say. So I'm happy I happened upon that when I did that used book haul. So that's one thing for Advent. And then along with that, I have to get out my Advent wreath. I mean, it's not this Sunday, it's the next Sunday, so I've got, a little bit of time, but I have to get out my Advent wreath and get my candles, and I have to go, this is always a challenge, I have to go unpack my Advent calendar, because I have a nice wooden calendar that has little nativity pieces in it, and a little magnetized board in the center that's got this painted backdrop of Bethlehem. And each day you open up a little drawer and you take out the little piece and you stick it on the center, which is magnetized. And by the time December 24th rolls around, you've got the whole scene. So I have to go find that and put that out. But like I said, I have a little bit of time, but I'm just thinking ahead. And then the other thing is, this was a possible nonfiction November read, because I've been reading this for a while. This is The Life of Christ by Fulton Sheen, Bishop Fulton Sheen. He is going to be beatified on December 21st. I think I already thought he was beatified, but he's just a venerable. He was a servant of God, and now he's moved up. I think that I always get confused about the process, frankly, but he's going to be beatified on December 21st, which is kind of neat, because I've been reading him a lot lately. And in fact, I'm reading a collection of quotations by him. I don't have it with me, but I've been reading it as my morning meditation. So I'm sort of steeped in Fulton Sheen right now, and so it's kind of neat. Same weird thing happened in October with St. John Henry Newman being canonized, when I was very involved in reading about him. Anyway, so I'm about 1/4 of the way through, and I plan to try to read this by December 21st, the day that he's supposed to be beatified. So that's my goal, and I'm really looking forward to this, because I think it'll put me in a really Christmas mood. He writes really, really beautifully. He's really quotable, and just really lovely and deep. So that's going to be a December goal. And then I decided to have a poet a month that I'm going to feature. It turned out to be St. John Henry Newman in November, because I'm reading The Dream of Gerontius, which I recognize that people don't really care about. But I'm going to do 2 recordings of the next 2 sections of the poem this weekend, and then I'm going to do 2 next weekend. And that way I'll have done all 7 by November 30th. So that's my plan. But in December, I'm going to feature this guy, Jacopone da Todi. He was a Franciscan who he was very interesting. I notice I always say anyway and interesting, but he had a very interesting life, and he writes very provocative and almost amusing poetry, because a lot of times he's very angry, either at himself or at other people. Anyway, I look forward to reading him and telling you more about him. His feast day is December 22nd. He's my youngest son's confirmation saint, who, his birthday is December 22nd, so he just picked this guy because it was the day the church memorializes him. So anyway, so I'm looking forward to that, and I think he'll be fun to explore. All right, and then the other thing I was going to read. Oops, sorry, I've been down. I don't have a nice setup here. I mean, I need table space or something to put books on. Anyway, the other thing is I'm going to reread Little Women with the A Year with Louisa May, and I'm probably going to save this for after Christmas because it'll be a nice downtime book. It's a reread. I read it many times, and I think I can just read it between Christmas and New Year's and get it done then. And I think it'll be a nice, relaxing, cozy read to get immersed in after the hectic Christmas season is over. So that's that. And then, oops, sorry, the books fell. Anyway, I also am planning to read some other books that are more, that aren't Catholic, they're Jewish, because I don't think I've mentioned this, but my husband is Jewish, and so we've always celebrated both Jewish holidays and Catholic holidays. And Hanukkah is coming up this month. It's also December 22nd, I believe, but we're having a party for my youngest son that night because he's turning 21. But I thought, in honor of Hanukkah, I would reread this. This has been sitting on my shelf, and I've been wanting to reread it for ages. So, and it's nice stories, nice Yiddish stories of the, he was an Ashkenazi Jew. He wrote a lot of short stories. Really charming stories about sort of life in the old, in Poland, in the old world. And so I thought that, and he wrote some that were specific for Hanukkah. So I think he won a prize of some sort, Nobel or Pulitzer, I don't know. I don't keep track of those prizes, I'm sorry. But anyway, so I think I'll reread him, and then my son up in Boston was saying that he had been reading a collection of short stories by Shalom Aleichem, which is the pen name of the guy who wrote the stories that they based Fiddler on the Roof on, Tevye the Dairyman. Those were also written in Yiddish. And I've been wanting to read those for years and years now. So when he said that he had a collection of stories he really liked and he was reading them, I bought the same book from the used books, as a used book. So I'm looking forward to that arriving. It's supposed to get here by November 29th. So I think I'll intersperse these short stories with those short stories. And that'll sort of put me in the mood for Hanukkah as well. And then a couple other things that I might read, probably won't get to them, but you know, in a perfect world, it could happen. I have this book called Life in a Jewish Family, which is Edith Stein autobiography, 1891-1916. Edith Stein is a really interesting person. She was born into an Orthodox Jewish family, but she was brilliant, and she became an atheist, and she studied philosophy, and she wound up working with Husserl, the founder of phenomenology, and she was really sort of a pioneer, because women just weren't accepted at the University of Vienna in philosophy during that time. But she was so brilliant, she was. So she sort of broke barriers. But she wound up, she became an atheist. Did I say that already? Anyway, she wound up converting to Catholicism very suddenly after reading the autobiography of St. Teresa of Avila. And then she eventually became a Carmelite nun. And she took the name St. Teresa Benedict of the Cross. And when she wound up being sent to Auschwitz and dying there. So Saint John Paul II canonized her. Anyway, so I've been wanting to read about her for a long time, and I think it'll be really, really fascinating, but I can't stand the print on this book. It is so dense. It's really dense. I mean, even with the dense print and the long pages, 514 pages, it just looks really, really daunting to me. So I would really, really like to read it. So I hope to at least start it. I really want to attempt it. I think it would be really interesting. It's Collected Works Volume 1. So, all right. And then the last thing that I might dip into if I'm in the mood is The Sunflower. And this was another haul book that I recently got, my one and only haul. And this was also sort of on a Jewish theme, because it's Simon Wiesenthal when he was in a concentration camp. Where was he? Was he also? Does it say where he was? Anyway, a dying Nazi soldier asked him to forgive him. And Wiesenthal didn't know what to do. He didn't answer. But the question bothered him all his life. And so he posed it to many illustrious people, theologians and writers and activists and philosophers and psychiatrists and whatnot. And they wrote these essays, and this is the book. So I'd like to dip into that, because I think that is appropriate for both Hanukkah and Christmas, the theme of forgiveness. So anyway, so that is my lineup for my December reading. And now that I've got that out of the way, now that I know officially what I'm doing, maybe I'll be able to focus on Thanksgiving. I gotta defrost the turkey and go shopping and buy all the potatoes and clean the house and make a gluten-free pie crust and that sort of thing. So, but I'm getting excited for Thanksgiving. I found out my daughter, who's away at school, is coming home on on Tuesday. And my son and his wife, who's newly expecting, they are coming down from Boston, so that's exciting. So hopefully it will be a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I hope that you all have a great Thanksgiving too. And I'm going to sign off like Steve Donahue does. Thank you, BookTube. Yeah, that's what he says. Thank you, BookTube. Bye.